Hello, my name is Bryce Tubbs. With me today is Barbara Lunan Ellison. She's a bank personality trainer, happiness expert, and she's building people-focused, profitable businesses. And she's also the founder of the Moving On movement, which is, implementing the ultimate happiness formula, which is a 5-point method to get your happy back. And she's a supporter of the Happiness Initiative. I'm super excited to be able to bring her story with you today because everything she does is about happiness, really finding fulfillment. So thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh, thank you, Bryce. This is just I love doing these things. And when we connected and we just seem to have, like sometimes you meet people and you just automatically connect with them. Other times you don't.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the great things when I connect with somebody, it's like, oh, wow, yay, this is cool. So yeah, so this is fun. This is fun.
Yeah, I'm really glad they're able to connect. And for those watching, if you have not already, and if you're watching this from anywhere outside of our free community, I just want to personally invite you to this because inside, we're a like-minded group of people that are very friendly and we connect with each other pretty well. So if you've been looking for that in these challenging times, come on ahead and join us inside. I'm going to put some links either above or below the video for you. Now, Barbara, first of all, where does your energy come from?
A part of it is personal because I've always been kind of a happy kind of girl. But 9 years ago, my husband passed away.
Oh, wow.
And that absolutely devastated me. I just totally lost touch with who I was. Mm-hmm. And so my 5-point method that I talk about in my courses, that was my journey back from that devastation. I never expected to be a widow so young. I mean, my husband and I, we talked many times that we were going to dance at our great-grandchildren's weddings. We were going to hit, we were going to be in our hundreds. And then all of a sudden at 58, he got cancer. And at 60, he passed away.
Wow.
And so then after the day that I woke up from my widow's fog and realized, oh, for heaven's sakes, Barbara, you cannot go on like this for another moment. Something has got to change in your life. And I realized I had no idea how to do that. I knew what I didn't want, but had no idea what I did want. So that kind of started my journey. And so now it has just been a blessing for my own self to get my happy back. That was what I had to do for myself to get my happy back. And now it is so fun to be able to help other people do the same thing. Because we all face traumas in our lives, and we get into that negative loop of stress that we just kind of be going around and around and around, and we just don't seem to move forward from it. And that's one of the things that I teach is the 4 stages of learning. And the second stage of learning is when you're sort of learning it, but you're just feeling like you're not making enough, you're not making progress fast enough, that kind of stuff. So I work with people that are there. I work with people that have had a loss, like for myself. I work with widows that have lost their husbands, and now they either have to replace that income, or they have to replace who they are outside of being part of a couple. Yeah. That was huge for me to not be part of a couple. So in my family, I have 3 sisters. So I was always the 3rd or the 5th or the 7th. And then sometimes one of my sisters would say, oh, well, I'll invite somebody to make the numbers, to even out the numbers. And that felt sometimes worse. So, but then I discovered personality science. And that has been absolutely a blast, because one of my favorite sayings has been for so long is that we cannot do life on our own. We have to do it in relationship with other people, whether that is in our own personal lives, with our children, with our spouse, but also in our business life. And so how often have you, I can remember, I've been in sales for a while, and I can remember doing presentations where all of a sudden I just watched it go down the tube and have no idea why. Oh, something happened. I now know, because of the personality science, that I obviously hit a trigger that triggered them to just turn off. And one of the biggest examples that I found one time was I was doing a couple. The wife was totally engaged. I mean, totally engaged. The husband was sitting back like this.
Uh-huh.
I did not know how to bridge that gap between between the husband and I. So of course the sale went down the tubes. But now with personality science, oh yeah, you can see. I look back now and realize I could have found out what his personality code was and what he needed to hear in order for him to buy my program.
Mm.
And so you don't even know this. I just shared with you just before we got on that I have a new tool. And it is part of I think I told you that we have an artificial intelligence that we can take something that somebody has written and find out what their code is so that we can talk back to them in their own voice. And that's one of the things that you talk about, is that relating to the person that you're talking to. Well, some people have that skill innately.
Yeah.
Some people don't. I was not one of them. But it is a skill that you can learn. So that's where the personality science comes in. And you know what? There are 7 billion people on the planet, probably close to 8 billion people on the planet. There's over 6,500 languages, but there's only 4 basic personality codes worldwide. And you know what? We've all done some type of personality assessment. Like I've done DISC, I've done the strength finders, I've done the color wheel, I've done the animals, I've done the earth, wind, and fire thing, you know, all of them. And they all teach you about yourself and how you think and what your strengths are and maybe what your weaknesses are and things that you can work on. But it never talks about how to relate to the other person that's sitting on across the table from you. And that's what I love about Bank. And it's from Codebreaker Technologies, and they are just absolutely going wild with the personality science plus the artificial intelligence. Well, what I just got today was a Chrome extension that we have, because we're still in beta, absolutely. So it's not perfect yet. It's not ready for the public yet, but this is what's going to be coming. And we can put in, it's on LinkedIn. I put in your profile and I know what your code is. The fun part is, and I'm going to share this with you, so this might be something that we might work on together, is some of the messages that you send are in a different code than what your profile is in.
The messages? What do you mean?
The messages that you're sent, anytime you post anything, it has a code to it. It's like a feel to it. It has a flavor to it. It has a voice. So your profile right now has a voice. Some of your messages that are going out have a slightly different voice.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I'll share. I just wanted to share that little tidbit to pique your interest, because now it's something I'll show you. You know, after we won't do it here, but show you. So if you had that information of what their code was, do you think it would be easier to talk to them?
Oh, yes.
Exactly. So, and that's where personality science comes in. And so what I do lots of times is I get together with people, and I do presentations for companies and for people. And I introduce them to the 4 basic personality codes with just little tidbits of who they are and how to recognize them. So if you want to do that, and right now we can do that. It just takes a few minutes to do that. And then I offer people that they can crack their own code, their own personality code, so that they will find out for themselves who they are. And then one of the things that I share with them has an added bonus if they want to do that, is that if they happen to be in sales, or if they work with public, or they're coaches or trainers and that kind of thing, I will share with them a sales report of how to deal with, like I would have your sales report, and I could say to you, well, you know what, do you want to know how to relate to you, how I can relate to you better, and show you how to relate if somebody else was the same personality code as what you are. So that's an added service that I offer to people if they want to crack their code. So we can for your audience, we'll put a code in the comments, and if they decide that they want to crack their own code and find out about that, they can do that. So it's just a fun thing that people can do.
Nice.
So that's, for me, it's fun.
Nice. Yeah, you're an interesting person, you know?
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks. I try to be.
So, yeah, it's funny. I'm sitting here smiling like, wow. I think that's a very interesting thing to be able to convey your excitement to the other person using video.
Yes.
Can you talk?
Oh, yeah. Like, I love doing Zooms. And I've done several presentations on Zoom for groups. I did one of the ones that was really fun. I did a group in Australia, and they were and it was like, oh, right. And they all recognized, even though here was me, I was in Chicago, and they were in Australia, but they recognized their own codes. When I described the codes to them, they said, oh, yeah, that's me. Because it's worldwide. It's worldwide. There's only there's 24 combinations, because we are a combination of all four of them. Like every once in a while, it'll be like, oh, that's why I do that. And it'll be one of my lesser codes, but it's like, oh yeah, that's why I do that. Oh yeah, there it is. That's part of my blueprint, or that's part of my knowledge, or because I'm basically what's called a nurturer. I want people to be happy. That's my big mission. I want people to be happy and to connect with each other and make money while they're doing it.
Yeah.
Because we all have bills to pay. we all have bills to pay. Doesn't matter where you are. You got to pay your bills. And right now, so many people are being laid off, outsourced, downsized, shut down. And some of them were reopened and are now being shut down again. So it's just, it's craziness.
So what's the biggest takeaway you've taken out of this kind of craziness time?
That, you know what, that we have to go out of our way to connect with other people, because there's so many people right now that are stuck at home and they're not thriving. So when you have something like my girlfriend and I on Facebook, we do a Happiness 101 show on Tuesday mornings. And our main goal is to smile the whole time, tell jokes, tell stories, not jokes, but just tell stories so that we are laughing, because laughing is such an important part of your psyche. And people right now are not taking the opportunity to laugh, or they don't feel like they have anything to laugh about. So that's kind of with me in the COVID, in that it has just thrown so many people for such a loop. But some people are going to thrive and other people are going to fail. And as harsh as that sounds, it's absolutely the truth, because we have to go out of our way to get past it, not dwell on it. So that's my goal. I try to post every day and something uplifting, and so, it's on my personal page every day. I post something that's uplifting, or something to meditate about, or just because we need help. And sometimes, and I think I go back to sometimes in where I was when after David died, where I just was like in such a slump that, I need help to get out of this. So now it's kind of like a give back for me, because so many people stepped up to help me. Because I enrolled in a coaching program, and that just started the journey of and it took time. It takes time, and we're going to be looking back on this time in our lives in 2 or 3 years from now and go, oh brother, that was really tough. And yet on the other hand, there's going to be so much innovation that comes out of it that we're going to be amazed. That we're going to be amazed. So it's both sides. So it's just, it's tough. It's a tough situation. So, What's your take on it?
It's interesting, right? Because I'm like, wow, this happened for me,
Yep.
It's like no distractions ever, no worrying about, going to, I have dance classes I like to do,
right,
social events, just sit here, talk to as many people as possible, help people out. It's interesting.
Right. Oh, that's me. I have just absolutely broadened my horizons of, if you had told me even 4 or 5 months ago that I would do podcasts and interviews and meetup presentations and presentations to Australia.
Hmm.
Ooh, I don't, it would be like, really? But now I think nothing of it.
Yeah.
I think nothing of it. I just, when people say to me, how do you just at the drop of a hat do an impromptu talk? Well, why not? And if I flub it, okay, I'm going to tell on myself. This morning in our happiness show, I have a screen behind me, and because it just gives me a uniform background for everything that I do. Well, of course, this morning my dog knocked it over.
Mm.
And there we were right in the middle of our Happiness 101 show. And I just said, oops, oh, well, oh, there went my screen. And there's nothing you can do about it. And that's one of the things that we talked about this morning, is that, if you have something in your life that you cannot possibly do anything about, let it go.
Mm.
Let it go, because you can't do anything about it. Go on to something else. Change your mindset. You can change your mindset from second to second. And that's part of my program too, the like who you are and what you want. Changing your mindset has impacts so many things, how you look at it, how you respond. We have no control over some of the things that go on around us, but we can govern and be aware of how we respond to what's going on around us. So yeah. So it's fun.
I think you're talking about the code breaker, and how can people either go to learn more about you, or where can they go to really connect with you further?
Oh, you can go onto my LinkedIn page and message me on LinkedIn. Absolutely. I answered that. And that's how you and I met. Mm-hmm. On LinkedIn. So that's a great place to meet me. You can crack your code, and then I'll be following up with you. You can come. Oh, Thursday night, we are having a special webinar. And if anybody is interested in coming to the webinar, you can private message me and I'll send you a link for it. It's on, and you'll just register on Eventbrite. And it's a freebie. It's a freebie, and it talks about all the personality, also talks about our new coaching program. That's one of the things that our company pivoted with. We did not used to have a coaching program. We were all trainers. Like, I'm a personality science trainer, and I do live events and presentations and things, but we didn't have a coaching program until all of a sudden everything got shut down. And the founder and the president, Esther and Sherry, said, right, what are we going to do? Well, let's teach them how to coach. And so for the last 6 weeks, we have been in a very intense coaching program of how to coach people through personality science to get their life going, like to increase their sales. And like, wouldn't it be nice if every customer that you talked to had a little button on them that said, oh, talk to me like this? It'd be like going to the bank and putting in your PIN code. Your PIN code has to be correct every time. If you put it in the wrong PIN code, you don't get money out. Well, personality is no difference. That's how we always think of our code. Is that because like my code is NABK, which means I'm a nurturer, high nurturer. I want people to be happy. I'm an action person. Let's just do it. I'm a blueprint. That means I don't like to be late, so I tend to be like, I was early for today, and this is the things. I'm not a techie. Techies are the Ks. I am not a techie. I'm learning to be a techie, but I'm not a techie yet, but I'm learning. So my K part is going up a little bit. But wouldn't it be nice if everybody had a little code on them? Well, that's what the free code does for people. You can crack their code. And especially if you are in a relationship that has a little bit of tension to it. If you, like, say you and a business partner that you're going along, you're doing well, but you've got a little bit of tension about something, then you can both crack your codes and then discuss them. It gives you an absolutely easy, fun way to open a conversation with somebody that you're having a slight bit of stress with. Like, can I tell you a funny story?
Let's hear it.
Okay. My husband, when the very first trip that we were going on, we were going to fly out of Chicago into LA, drive across the desert into Las Vegas so he could have the visual of seeing the city of Las Vegas, all the lights, and just sit there to his heart's content and see the city. Well, I came home from work. I came home one day and he was sitting on the middle of our floor. He had all these maps and atlases and all sorts of fun things out. And I said, David, what are you doing? He said, I'm planning our trip. And I went, what trip? Okay, remember I said I'm spontaneous. Oh, so I'm thinking he's taking me somewhere like the next day. He said, you know, the trip, the one that we're going to fly from Chicago into LA, drive across the desert to Las Vegas? And I said, yes, David, I do know that trip. But that trip we are going there in November. This is August. What are you doing? He said, well, he looked up at me in total surprise and he said, well, when are you going to figure out the route that we're going to take when we leave LA to get to Las Vegas? I said, David, when I get in the rental car in LA. You're smiling.
Yeah.
He didn't. But that's it. But can you see that one instance that became funny? And we laughed about that for years. For years, for the 20 years that we were married, we laughed about that incident. But do you think that played out in other parts of our marriage?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because he was the planner. I was the spontaneous one. And so my spontaneous butted up against his planning. And plus he was a knowledge person that knowledge people like to research. And when we were buying our last vehicle, he was driving me crazy because he would come to me every day with all these facts and figures and stuff. And I finally said to him, I said, David, when you get down to the top 3 that you want me to actually get in and test drive, that's when you come and I will gladly listen to every single solitary one of the details. Until then, you're driving me crazy. Because I kept thinking when he would come to me with the details, okay, so we're going to go test drive that. And he would be like, well, no, I still have to do more research. So, yeah. And that's what happens in relationships, whether it's personal or business. Mm-hmm. You get 2 business partners that butt up. Yeah. So that's why it's so fun to do it. When you see the light bulb go on. For somebody that says, oh, that, like with me, I can look back and say, oh, that's why David did that. Yeah. Nice. So, yeah.
You know, just for those watching, in case we do this audio podcast in the future, can you spell out your name so I can find you?
Okay. On LinkedIn, I'm Barbara, Barbara. And then I'm Ellison on LinkedIn. I never changed my name. It's on Facebook that I'm Lunan Ellison. And my last name is Ellison.
Nice.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
So then, yeah, feel free to, to private message me and I'll send you the link to crack. And I can just give you the code if you want to just put it into, it's just a bit.ly link that if somebody wants to crack their code, or I can give it to you after the interview, that would be fine too.
Why don't we do both? You can say it here. So
okay.
We'll just type it in if they're watching.
Okay. All right. It's a bit.ly, bit.ly/Barb with a capital B code, CODE.
Nice. And
they'll get and what they're going to do is there will be 4 cards that come up. And you'll read the information on each one of the cards, and they are interactive cards. So you'll just put them in your order of choice from either left to right or top to bottom, whichever way whatever device you're on. And then once you do that, that'll be your code. So you'll color it, and then you'll put in your email address and your phone number, and then it'll hit submit. You'll get within a few minutes, you'll get a free report and it's like $100 value. So it's a free report. And then if somebody, then after they've done that, if somebody does want to hear, like if they happen to be in sales, then I am more than willing to sit down with them on a free call. I don't charge them for this. It's a freebie. And they can sit down and I can share with them some information about about how to do sales with a person of their code. See, one of the things, I'll give you a statistic. When you are talking in your own code, you only hit the right code 25% of the time. The other 3 codes are the other 75% that you're probably giving to your competition. Because those are the sales that, because so often people hear the thing that, oh, well, in order to get more sales, you have to go through your nose. Yeah, no, you have to get more yeses. So that's what bank code helps you to do, is to get more yeses, because you speak to them in the code that they want to be talked to.
Nice.
So it's very cool.
Yeah. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate learning from you,
you're
really
welcome.
just hearing you speak and stuff.
Anytime. Anytime. And as I said, sometimes I do little skits and stuff with my little sexy glasses here for each code. So if that's something that your listeners want to do, I'd be more than happy to come back and do that. So it's fun. It's fun.
Excellent.
Just to recognize their own codes.
And for those watching, we thoroughly hope that you found this valuable. I know I took about 3 pages of notes. It's really interesting to kind of hear this conversation unfold. Now, again, if you are watching this from anywhere outside of our community, I just want you to come and check it out and join it right now, because we're building a mastermind where people come together and support each other every single day. So if that's what you've been missing in your life, go on ahead and click on the links either above or below and join us inside this community. Hopefully you enjoyed watching this as much as we enjoyed creating it. Feel free to hit that share button so other people can get some great value as well. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. We're done recording in 3 and 2.